Hey,
Hey there, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. We are live.
All right, I'm right on my phone right now. Logging in my computer, I had to do a nice restart.
Yeah, no problem. The wonders of technology, right?
Yep, yep.
so, we are on the verge of the snow apocalypse here on 2222. I saw a lot of people posting they're concerned because everybody chose today for their wedding day. So they have 2222 for their wedding day, and now they might be snowed out. So,
Well, if they live in these areas that normally get this, they should have planned to go into a warmer climate. But right now, the world is, or at least the United States, is that it's just very cold everywhere, even down towards Florida and that. So
yeah, well, I mean, traditionally, yeah, February is usually our coldest month. Mike DeSantis, our friend over at Great Lakes Comic Con, he had posted a memory from a year or two ago where same exact day snow days were hitting. So
well, I had two posted on my memories the last couple of days that showed that, and through even today, where it was we had some snow hit on February 1st, 2nd. It seems to always be around this time, so it must be just something with the way the
yeah,
changes are going on. I mean, we notice we're getting longer daylight. It's also Groundhog's Day, so and we are about 6 weeks from the equinox spring. So
well, are we? Because the groundhog died like 2 days ago. So is this like eternal winter now? It's
yeah,
like that cannot be a good sign when the groundhog dies.
right, right. So we'll see.
I mean, I feel bad for the groundhog, don't get me wrong, but I'm more concerned about eternal winter here or
Yeah,
some plague. It's like opening up King Tut's tomb. Did we unleash some kind of horrible multiverse effect? I don't
yeah.
know.
No, I think we're gonna be fine on all this. So it'd be interesting to see. But I mean,
Indeed.
technically, though, with the way the calendar falls, we're about 6 weeks, always 6 weeks from when actual spring hits. So
Mhm.
and that, but and I always wonder, like, okay, it's always somewhere around this time. It's like it's not winter. It's like, oh, only got like a few more weeks. I better get going.
Yep, for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
So let me pull up our first sponsor, which is going to be Loringer. Let me grab their page. I'm assuming you're not able to
No,
see.
my computer's not
Yep.
even up yet. I don't know. I'm looking at new computers, not right this second, but hopefully soon because this one's just starting to have connection issues. So,
Yeah.
but
So
it's like 8 9 years old, so it's getting there. So
that's like 1,000 years old in computer years.
yeah, I've got a lot of good use out of it. So I've been backing up a lot of stuff just to make sure I've got everything backed up off of it. So
It's still on Windows 3. No.
yeah, 3.11. I did do the upgrade. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's the page for Loringer. So Loringer Family Chiropractic Center, and they are located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. And I almost know this by heart, but they take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital X-rays, massage therapy, orthotics by
Foot
foot
levelers
levers. Yep. Uh,
and
all in
essential
a
oils.
yeah, essential oils with Young Living, and all in a family-oriented environment. They are. I know they're open in Dexter today from 10 to 1. I'm not sure about Belleville even opening up today. The snow has finally started here in Belleville. It was raining this morning. All the snow we had prior melted out my backyard, so we had a flood out there. And now it's starting to freeze and snow over top of it. So it's going to be very kind of icy out there today, I believe, more
Yeah.
and as well as the snow. But they're supposedly working till 1 today out in Dexter. So if you're in that area and need something, go see them. Otherwise, definitely check them out when weather is better in Belleville, Michigan, or Dexter, Michigan. And I don't have their phone number in front of me. It's like 734-697-4244, I believe.
734-697-4244 for Belleville, and
Yep.
Dexter is 734-426-3994. And as
Yep.
always, LawyerFamilyChiropractic.com is their website.
Yep. And they've been with us since pretty much day one, and appreciate their continued sponsorship, and definitely check them out for any of your health and wellness needs.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. And then our other sponsor, Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest tools and technology to maximize your home buying experience, we never forget real estate is still a people business. No matter what they say out there, everyone's trying to always make everything go electronic. But we were just doing a market analysis. We had a fellow realtor in the office we were talking with, and sometimes we get some difficult properties to come up with values for. So that's one of the benefits of working in an office is we can utilize, Jill and I, we have a ton of experience in real estate, but whenever something comes up that might, you want to bounce ideas off of, we have an office full of experienced agents that we can bounce our ideas off of, get second opinions from. So this other realtor who we know, great realtor, he just wanted to get a second opinion on the price he was coming up with, and because the Zillow price was coming up so different than what we were coming up with. And so with a little bit of research, I was able to determine what was happening was there was a new neighborhood very close by, and it had updated houses, more modern curb appeal, more modern floor plans. So what was happening is, because of the way those algorithms work, it's just taking an average of all the houses in a certain area. These houses that were selling much higher was throwing off the comps, the predetermined comps through this website. So which is very important. That's why you want the personal touch, and use an actual human being. We know the areas, we can look into it, we can figure out, why the algorithms aren't coming up with accurate numbers, because it's a hot market still. But if you price your house wrong and it ends up on the market too long, very quickly, buyers, we've done it where the houses have sold so fast that a house is on the market for 5 days and the buyer asks, well, what's wrong with it? It's like, well, nothing's necessarily wrong. Usually, though, if something is on the market too long, it usually means the price is wrong. So you want to price it right from the start. So give us a call. We will help you out. I'm going to give out my personal number today because, as many of you know, Jill has been with her daughter. Her daughter's been battling leukemia. We appreciate everybody's prayers. And they've been in the hospital. So I'm still handling the business for both of us. So, don't worry. While Jill's taking care of her family, I'm going to take care of us. So give me a call. My cell is 586-549-6096. You can find us at Team Titans RE on Facebook or teamtitansrealestate.com that you see up on the screen there online. So give us a call.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been seeing more and more real estate stuff, and I have been noticing more and more signs are staying up at places. I think a lot of it has to do with more, not just pricing, but also location. I'm seeing more on the outskirts of the cities and not in the cities themselves as much. And I think also some of them are, I could, looking at them saying, okay, you guys are probably trying to overget for the land and everything else because everything is going so high, and it's.
Well, that's one of the factors you got to take into account too, because while it's still a very hot market, and you're likely, if you have a turnkey ready home, move-in ready home, you there's a good chance of getting multiple offers if you price it right to begin with. However, last summer we would put a house on the market and within 3 days have like 20 offers, 30 offers. It was insane. We're still getting multiple offers, but instead of 20 or 30 offers, we're getting more like 2, 3, 4 offers. And the price, last year we were getting offers of like 50,000 above asking price with all these appraisal guarantees. Appraisal guarantees are still happening, but it's not happening to that extreme because you're not having that volume, that flood of offers coming in. But we're still getting bidding wars. We're still getting great pricing. But you got to take that into account when you're setting your price point for how you're going to sell.
Okay. Well, I wonder how much of that also is affected by the fact that it is winter and people are, at least in Michigan, aren't necessarily looking to move in the winter.
Well, and that's the other part. So, come spring, that's usually the surge. And what I've been talking about, we're in a weird situation here. A lot of times with the market, there's either a benefit to the buyer to act now or the seller to act now. We're in this weird position where it's actually beneficial to both sides of the transaction to act now. And that's because of the rise of interest rates.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yep. With the rise of interest rates coming up, the Fed has announced they plan on doing 2 or 3 interest rate hikes over the next few months in 2022 here, some different things tend to happen when interest rates go up. It's because they got to fight inflation here.
Yep.
And so on the sell side, usually when interest rates go up, sell price goes down because buyers can't afford as much home because it's going to be eaten up by interest rates.
Mhm.
So if it follows the normal pattern, then that would mean the house prices will drop. You will get less for your home if you wait to sell, if it follows the normal patterns. On the buy side, you may think, oh, well, that's great. I'm going to get the house for less. However, interest rate makes up the majority of your payment for your monthly payment. So even though you might get the house for a little less in total purchase price, your monthly payment will be higher because of interest, which means you'll get approved for less. So you'll have to buy less house. So in both scenarios, the benefit is to the buyer and seller to act sooner than later. So that was a lengthy explanation, but sorry.
That's fine. It gave me a minute to log into the actual computer here. So
Yeah.
actually it makes it easier to communicate with you guys. So
Yeah. So give us a call once again. 586-549-6096 is my cell. All right.
Excellent. Yeah. So we're here in Michigan getting ready for snowpocalypse for ourselves. The East Coast got a good nor'easter last week. It looks like they're getting more of what we're getting later on. So
my relatives in Connecticut and Massachusetts, they got between 20 to 30 inches of snow between a couple days there. Mm-hmm. So they had a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's because talking about looking at stuff from the past. It's it popped up where you and I a few years ago were streaming for home using Facebook Live before we started using StreamYard because of the polar vortex, because it was just so cold. It was like we're not even going out in it because we didn't want to freeze to death. Yep. Yeah, it's not that cold. Us. Yeah, it's not that cold here yet, but we're going to see some cold weather later this week. They're talking, not the full snowpocalypse, but definitely more stuff later on. So,
yeah, I'll be curious to see where things end up. According for my neck of the woods, they're calling the news is calling for, I think it was 8 to 14 inches or something like that for my area. My weather app says more like 5 inches. So,
well, it depends on how many days.
More...
The news themselves have been covering both days together.
Yeah.
Today it looks like it's gone down. Originally they were talking today being, like 3 inches in the morning they were talking about, and then another 8 tonight, and then tomorrow would be just another dumping of 4 or 5 on top of it. Now it's looking like we're getting the most of it starting here now. And kind of going the rest of the day. And in my area, again, they're still talking up to 12 inches total over 2 days. But like today is going to be like 7 to 8 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. For my area in the weather app, the 2-day total was like 5.5 inches. Yeah. So I always like to compare what the weather people on TV say versus the weather app says. I tend to find the weather app is more accurate. And I think the reason is because the weather people on TV need to hype things up. So you tune in to find out about emergencies.
Right.
They're ratings driven. So
so I mean, it's like right now, it's like looking at the thing. It's like tomorrow they're now talking like some snow 2 to 3 inches when it was supposed to be a lot more. But the funny thing is, I watch the local news to get an idea what they say. I check my apps. I try to make my own judgment based on a mix of information, and I usually can figure out pretty closely where things are going to be at. And the thing with this storm is like, okay, it could still break down. And I said, all depends. They were talking about the warmth yesterday. Well, it got up to 50 degrees. No, they didn't think it would get to 50 degrees.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh, that's stick around longer then. Yeah, I figured that was going to stick around longer than it did. Because when I got up this morning and after I dragged myself out of bed watching the new Book of Boba Fett, which we will not be talking about this week. But
we will not be talking about it, but it was good.
Yep. And I went outside. I was like, oh, it's still warm. Oh, the snow's melted everywhere. And our backyard is flooded. So, but yeah, so it's just a matter of what it is. So it's just I use multiple sources. I try to do that not just with weather, but anything information wise. You want to look at multiple sources to make sure you try to create your own full picture on everything and what is truly fact versus what is someone saying, I want to scare you. And here comes 18 feet of snow.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So how has your week been?
It's been good. a lot of work. I've been trying to get some stuff organized. I actually have my first convention next weekend with Kevin. We're gonna be in NWICon in Northwest Indiana. So I went through all the comics to see what I had left for next year, or for this year so far. And I know you've got an order in for Crimson Shadows 3.
So I got an update on the delivery. They're actually going to be shipping next week, which means I probably won't have it till the following week because it ships ground. So I may not have that in time for your NWI show.
That's fine. That's fine. We're not making any promises for that one anyways. We're going to have what we have. But we'll plan on, because we'll see you at the Great Lakes show. I know you're not, I don't think you're setting up, are you?
I'm not setting up. We get a couple badges per table. So I'll probably use one of Kevin's badges, spare badges, to come in for probably on Saturday. Yeah. But I can see you guys before then, obviously. Maybe help set up or whatever. And it'll be good to hang out, see everybody. I can bring stock to that. And,
and the Great Lakes has typically usually been our first show of the year. Once in a while, we have something beforehand. At least for me, and I know usually for Scott. I know a few years ago it popped up. We were in 4 years ago. We were at Days of the Dead down in Atlanta. Hey, Kevin's out in Vegas, and good morning from Vegas.
That's right.
I think they're still only 2 hours back now because they haven't done the time change, and they'll stay. Then they'll go 3 hours when we spring forward. So it's a little after 8 out there, and he's probably staying at our favorite place, South Point. So, love that place. You guys turned me on to such a great place out there. I love staying there. People talk about staying on the Strip. I'm like, no, I'd rather stay at South Point. I like the atmosphere. I like the way they run things out there. And then when I want to go to the Strip, I can go to the Strip.
Yeah, it's the perfect location. It really is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are we getting a lot of delay on your end there, Scott?
It seems like everything's going okay.
Okay, just making
on
sure.
My
right?
end.
I know my thing likes to do its thing, you know. Staying at the link. I do like the link too. I've not stayed there, but I like going in there. So,
the link is where
yeah, go ahead.
The link is where the place we always go eat at.
Hash House a Go-Go.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. They have one there. It's a good one. I still prefer the one over on Sahara, which is a standalone location. We haven't taken you to that one, have we?
No. Wait, is that I went with Jill.
Okay,
you guys told me you guys told me about it, and I went with Jill.
Yeah.
And it was delicious.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's probably doing he must have his convention for rivets and that out there. So he's in line at Hash House now.
See, we know Kevin.
Oh yeah. Hey, it's good food. You get a ton of food for the money. It keeps you. I like going there before shows or something like that because you get full all day long. So can't beat it. For sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So let's see. This week, one thing I've been doing this week is I think you recently went through this. Marvel. I've been going through all the Marvel movies in timeline order, not release order. Mm-hmm. And so I did all of phase 1 this past week of the Marvel universe. So, well, I shouldn't say all except Incredible Hulk, because that's not on Disney Plus.
Right.
The reason being Paramount was the distributor. So, because Paramount was the distribution company, Disney doesn't have the rights to air it at this time. So I went on to, Amazon Prime has it, but you have to rent it through them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not doing that. I got the DVD somewhere. It's just I haven't played DVDs in so long. It's like, oh, well, I know what happens in that movie.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, as much as I enjoyed the Incredible Hulk movie, it was good. It's not necessary to the phases per se, because they went from one character to actor to a different actor, and they basically explained everything in about half a second on there. So
now what's cool is when you watch it in timeline order on Disney Plus, they include the Marvel one shots in the timeline, so you can watch those in order too. So they have one called The Consultant, which takes the end credit scene from the Incredible Hulk and then creates a little mini story around that end credit scene to explain why Iron Man or Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, went and saw the general over there at the end regarding Abomination and what happened there. So that actually gave me just enough information to feel like, oh yeah, I remember everything that happened there. So I was able to skip past. But it's been a lot of fun.
That's a new feature, because before, when I did it using Disney Plus, the timeline, it was just the movies. So they hadn't and they hadn't uploaded all those little smaller clips now. So I know they're on there now too. So that's kind of neat to have those.
Yeah, so like the Peggy Carter one shot. There's one with Agent Coulson on the way. Something happened on the way to get Thor's hammer, it's called, or something like that. And so they have all these little mini one shot stories that are anywhere from 3 to 15 minutes long, depending on the one. So it's been a lot of fun revisiting all that. So it took me all the way through, like Iron Man 2, the first Avengers, and all those. So some of these movies I haven't seen in a long time. Like even Captain America: First Avenger, it's been a real long time since I watched that. So it was fun watching all these things. And here's the really cool thing about Marvel is all the movies that have come out have enhanced the past movies. Even ones like Iron Man 2 that I enjoyed at the time, but they're not up there in my favorites of the Marvel movies. But knowing the history and what happens, they're even better watching it now versus at the time they first came out.
I felt the same way when I went through it. I hadn't watched a lot of them in a very long time, and seeing things that people said almost in passing, and realizing what they were talking about 8 movies later. It's like, wow, you may have caught some of those hints early on, but a lot of times you missed it when you see it again. It's like, oh, wait a minute, they were alluding to this, they were alluding to that, and they were setting a lot of that stuff up, in terms of here's this and that. So I mean, go and watching, and you're watching in timeline order, so you're bouncing between movies that came out years apart anyways.
So like Captain America: First Avengers, the first one, then the second movie is Captain Marvel, and then the third movie, I forget the order anyways, but it's really good. But what's interesting is there's a theory that's floating around that I think has legs, and watching Iron Man 2 kind of brought it all back. Is because there's the little kid who's dressed as Iron Man who tries to stop the drone, and then Iron Man shoots him instead. And that's been confirmed by, I think, Feige. Somebody from Marvel said that is a young Peter Parker. So what we've learned since with the multiverse thing that happens in Spider-Man No Way Home is there is no Oscorp. Now, in the other timeline versions, the radioactive spider that bites Peter Parker is Oscorp. Right. Now, in the Tom Holland universe, the Stark Industries took over instead of Oscorp. There is no Stark Industries in those other ones. We know Peter Parker was at their World Fair. We know Tony Stark was in weapons development. The theory is, because they never reveal where the radioactive spider came from, the theory is the radioactive spider was an experiment with Stark that got loose, bit Peter Parker, a young Peter Parker, and that is why Tony Stark has been following Peter Parker's life. When he first meets Peter Parker, he knew about him. He knew he was Spider-Man. He's been keeping an eye on him, and he took him in. And the reason being he feels guilty because he feels responsible for Peter getting these powers. So I think that's an interesting line of thought. That's all theory. None of it's been confirmed.
That's always been the thought process I had, because when they introduced Tom Holland as Spider-Man, we didn't get an origin movie. We didn't get him as normal and then Spider-Man. We've only just seen him as I have got the powers. So with that, I always felt like, okay, there's this, and with them confirming no Oscorp, because we never have seen anything to do with Oscorp, Harry Osborn, it's none of those characters that were from the first two really popping up in this one. And that was kind of interesting when they did confirm in this last Spider-Man. And now watching even some of those earlier movies or the timeline movies and stuff, and how all that's playing out and how that's fitting in. But yeah, they had speculated before that was supposed to be Peter Parker.
Yeah, and the other thing is when Osborn is looking for Oscorp. He doesn't find it, and he says to Tom Holland, somebody else is living in my house. Now, with that said, I guess somewhere along the line there's a newspaper, and if you pause it and look at the newspaper, it shows an article about this guy who crashed the Stark Industries, some gala that was going on, and he crashed there and he got arrested or whatever because he thought it was his place. So there's some little snippet somewhere. So that kind of insinuates Stark Industries is Oscorp in this multiverse.
Yes.
So kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time when they started doing all the Marvel MCU, they didn't have any rights to any of the Spider-Man aspect, and that included Oscorp. So they did a slightly different route, but now that they can start incorporating all that back into it, I like that they're doing it as a multiverse aspect. So if they want to go and revisit other, universes with different Spider-Man, where they go back and do a Garfield movie and or the original Spider-Man, they have those aspects of it, but it doesn't take away anything they've done so far, which I think is really good.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the multiverse, the rumors are getting stronger out there about Tom Cruise playing Tony Stark, a variant of Tony Stark. Have you been seeing that?
Yes. Yeah, that's been popping up a lot. So
supposedly he's playing the most powerful version of Tony Stark there is. Supposedly his Iron Man suit will actually have 3 of the Infinity Stones built into the suit, giving him near unlimited power. Like I said, these are rumors. They could be completely true. They could be completely false. Nobody knows. Yeah. But it does seem like the rumor mill has really ramped up this week regarding Tom Cruise. Just like they were rumors about Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man. So who knows? But he will make a good Tony Stark, I think. He's got that right demeanor to play
I'd like to see him be, the typical Tom Cruise actor you see in movies, but I want him to also be the Tom Cruise from Tropic Thunder as Tony Stark.
What was his name in Tropic Thunder?
Blanking on it right now, but
are you talking about the character he actually played in Tropic Thunder, or the Robert Downey Jr. Tropic Thunder character?
No, the character that Tom Cruise played, the agent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Les
Grossman.
Grossman, that's it.
Yeah, because I mean, he's got the best lines in the whole movie. I mean, realistically, I'm not a huge fan of the movie, other than a lot of his scenes. The rest of it, I'm okay with, but I'm a bigger fan of what he did.
I am still amazed, though, Robert Downey Jr. has not been canceled in Hollywood for his Tropic Thunder.
Well, I think they got away with it. Actually, I mean, there had been talk a couple years ago that people said stuff about who was his co-star in it. The main star on it besides him,
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, yeah, that because Ben Stiller playing the character he played in a movie within the movie, being kind of mentally challenged, and that they I think someone tried to do that, but Stiller came out and basically said, "Look, it's a movie. It's not real, and we weren't making fun of anybody,
I mean, if that's the case, I mean, every role Ben Stiller does is under attack. Zoolander.
Yeah.
Who can live in these tiny houses?
Yeah.
Are these for ants?
Yeah. I never really watched the Zoolander, so they did not appeal to me at all. So
yeah, I unfortunately did watch it. It has funny moments, but there's a lot of. Sometimes some movies would be amazing as like a 2 to 5 minute Saturday Night Live skit, but to expand it out to 90 minutes is just too much sometimes.
Yeah, there's some of the movies I like of his. I still like Dodgeball.
Weatherman was great, and Dodgeball was great.
Yeah,
was Stiller in Weatherman?
You mean Anchorman?
Anchorman, that's it.
Yeah, no,
I'm thinking the Weatherman fight is what I was.
Yeah.
Thinking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, Anchorman. I seen the first one, and then I went to the theater and saw the second one with people I was with, and I found him okay. I personally, I'm not a huge Will Ferrell fan.
That's my issue with the movie is Will Ferrell.
And
take him out, it would have been a great movie.
Some of the end's fine, but I also know that he based a lot of the thing on Bill Bonds on the Detroit. That was kind of his inspiration, and I was like, that's fine. But I personally, a lot of that humor. I don't find funny, and I think it's mostly because I was raised on. I think I got it. Well, I'm not gonna grab it because I got stuff on top of it. I was raised on classic humor, like the Abbott and Costello box set I have sitting right here.
Well, I feel like for Will Ferrell movies, other than Elf is my favorite. I do enjoy Elf, but most Will Ferrell movies I feel fall in that category of it's a funny 2 to 5 minute skit. It's too much for 90 minutes. He goes to the well too many times and it gets annoying. So, but I love the Weatherman fight in Anchorman. And you got Paul Rudd and so many Steve Carell's in there. So many people.
And there's a lot of good actors in that, and it was fine. I watched the first one, was fine. I watched the second one, was fine. I laughed at the second one. I didn't hardly laugh until the big fight at the end. Other than that, I was just kind of sitting there like, okay. I just wasn't finding it as funny at the time. But it's one of the things with Ben Stiller. There's things I really like of his, and then there's things I feel like, okay, you're just kind of regurgitating the same old thing. It doesn't feel anything new here, and it's the same joke. It's trying to tell it a different way. It's still not funny.
Yeah, I think my favorite Ben Stiller would be Dodgeball and Night at the Museum movies. I like those.
I like the Night at the Museum movies, Dodgeball, and I still like There's Something About Mary.
I forgot that was a Ben Stiller.
Yeah,
but
so that was a good one. And then there's a few other ones here and there.
Mystery Men.
Mystery Men was good.
I want to see they need to incorporate Mystery Men in through the multiverse into the Marvel universe. They would be perfect street level heroes.
Yeah, and then he was in Heavyweights. He was funny, but the character in Heavyweights was the same one he did in Dodgeball and a couple other ones. And after a while, it gets kind of like old on that stuff. So
he has limited range.
Yeah. So. But we can change topic with it. Have you been watching? We don't have to get into it today because I'm only just finished up the first part of season 4 of Ozark.
I've watched episode 1 with all the health issues Emily's gone through. We didn't have time to watch any more, but we did watch the first episode. Loved it. Curious to see where certain things go. So this is speculation or desires on my part. I'm really hoping Marty and or Ruth take out Wendy. Wendy Bird needs to go. She is so annoying. She can't shut up. She makes everything worse. So I'm hoping Ruth takes out. Actually, I hope it's Marty. I have a feeling it's going to be the son, though.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is this: there's another part coming.
I noticed that it said season 4, part 1. Right. So
each section has 7 episodes. I looked it up today after I finished the 7th episode last night. And they leave it kind of on a cliffhanger. Some things have happened. And now the next 7 will be the resolution of everything that's happened this first 7 to end the series out.
We're definitely looking forward to watching Ozark. We love it.
I think once you guys have a chance to go through it, I personally, this is one I ended up watching it over the last week, an episode here, an episode there. So I didn't rush through it. It's one of those series that I just can't binge multiple episodes.
Yeah, it's 1 or 2 episodes at a time, max. Yep. And
I did
you gotta give it time to digest.
Yeah, I did a couple last night to finish it off. In fact, I was exhausted, so I started falling asleep last episode. I watched a little bit again this morning for the couple scenes I missed just to catch up on what I caught at the beginning and end.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready for the next part, which I was reading an article. It's kind of interesting. Is they're thinking it won't come out until after May 31st. And the reason being is that's the cutoff for the Emmys for this year. And if it comes out after May 31st, like June 1st on, it'll qualify for the Emmys for the next year. So they can try to get 2 years of awards out of it.
I see.
Because even though, I really don't care for the award ceremonies themselves, they still hold a lot of weight within the studios on terms of, directors, producers, actors, things like that, and how their future endeavors go. But I really been enjoying this series and that. So, and Jason Bateman is just phenomenal. I've been a fan of his, for a long time, since he was a kid, about 40 years since I knew him when he started off like Silver Spoons. He did It's Your Move and did some comedy stuff and started popping up here and there through the 90s again. And this has really shown how good he is. Yeah.
And it's funny because back then that his sister was the popular one, Justine Bateman.
Justine Bateman, yeah.
Everyone knew her through Family Ties.
Yeah.
Mallory.
Mallory. She played Mallory on there. Yep. Yep.
Yep. And but you know, she's retired from acting, but he really has gone on to be a stellar actor. He can do the serious stuff like in Ozark, or then like in Horrible Bosses. He's hilarious. You know, he can do funny, he can do serious.
Well, there's another one he did with I'm trying to think of it. He did with Jennifer Aniston, because they're good friends in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And remember reading about something about it. It popped up on an article somewhere. I read it a few years ago, and yeah, it's like he didn't want to do it. I think it's the one where they I think she was going to be artificially inseminated, and they messed up or something like that on the donation. So but it was you know, it was definitely something that when I read about it, the switch, that was it. And that was, you know, gosh, it's been 12 years ago. I just pulled it up, and it's interesting, you know, the talk on stuff like that. But he was in that one. He was funny, but he really started to showcase that he could be the straight man in the comedy more. And I think he really. I mean, I mentioned Abbott Costello a few minutes ago. He's kind of the Abbott of acting in terms of he can definitely be the straight man and lend a lot of seriousness to it, but then still flip it right into a joke and still be straight about it. So
yeah, I gotta say though, Marty Byrde is the most calm person in the history of the world when it comes to catastrophes happening all around him.
Yeah, you know, I've been watching that. You know, he reminds me a little bit of Dexter.
Yeah,
he's you know, if you think about it, he's got probably, I bet you in the character not developed like Dexter, but he's developed in a way that some of the neurons that Dexter has, where these things just don't phase him.
Yeah.
You know,
well, if you even go back to his origins,
yeah,
in Ozark, he was an accountant, so he kind of was just a by the numbers guy. He wasn't a very emotional guy. So, you know, you're seeing how that kind of evolved with the series.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you see with him on that. And it's I think he's played it such a good way that, you know, you see these. I see mixes of Dexter. I see a little bit from Breaking Bad of Walter White. You know, in terms of his calculations of stuff and how he comes up, and then the business aspect we've seen through these first 3 seasons, even prior to this one, on what they've done. And then how he's had to incorporate the wife in, and the wife is a completely different character from what you see in those other shows. You know, the wife became part of something in Breaking Bad, but really in this one, you know, the wife is a little more integral on what's going on. And she's definitely has shown in the past that to be a little more ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. So if you haven't watched Ozarks, check it out. Catch it up in a few weeks here. Whenever Scott and Jill get a chance to catch up on it, no rush on that. We'll probably do a little dive into it before the second part starts.
For sure.
Too. So, but yeah, I finished that up. I was like, okay, this is cool. So, and then I've got my watching for today. Just so I haven't had a chance to watch it yet today, but I picked up.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
So it's out there now. And yes, I always buy the Blu-rays with the digital, so that way I own a physical copy when the internet goes down.
Yep. Yeah, and as far as movies go, Spider-Man is still killing it at the box office. They haven't had much competition.
Yeah.
But they've been doing well, and now I guess their next competition is actually Tom Holland, because Uncharted is about to come out.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Is that this week?
I think it's 2 weeks away.
2 weeks?
I think we're still 2 weeks away, yeah.
I do want to see that. I enjoy Mark Wahlberg, and then you got Tom Holland, which is great. So that'll be interesting. From the trailer, I think it's going to be a fun movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be this great adventure movie. I think it's going to be a fun movie, a lot of cool action. Comes out February 18th. So I'm going to probably won't see it till, I'm not sure when I'll be able to see it right away, but I'm going to try to see it sometime around that time. It's just got a lot going on this month, so.
Well, they timed it perfectly because they lucked out, because the energy created for Tom Holland right now is huge through Spider-Man. So I'm sure they're going to get a bump in sales for Uncharted because of him. Yeah. So, and his contract is officially up with Marvel. So, and he's putting out the floaters that he might be gone. So he's really in a perfect spot to maximize the next contract.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's going to come back. And,
Oh, he will.
and
He's
I
loving
think
this
it's
too
that.
much.
Yeah, I think
If
this
Zendaya
is all
comes
the.
back, he'll come back.
Oh
Zendaya.
gosh, yeah,
Zendaya.
Zendaya, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he's coming back regardless, just for the fact that it's just I think he has too much fun with it. He enjoys it, and it really did open up a lot of stuff for him. His he'd done some stuff before. He'd been done a little stage work. Um, so I think that doing the Spider-Man movies doing exactly what it does for a lot of these people is it's opened up all these. He's now doing Uncharted. I think he's definitely poised to be one of the next good action stars, and not in the typical way of like The Rock or even Stallone, but in his own way. And I think that he's with Wahlberg in this, and not someone like The Rock, which I could have seen them try to throw in that role.
Yeah.
So, but I like Wahlberg a lot, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. So,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Shall we talk Boba Fett episode 5, last week's
Yeah.
episode?
Wow. Basically, well, we got a Mandalorian episode is what we got. And I'm not complaining about that at all, because I believe it still fully ties into everything with this Book of Boba Fett. The book, I mean, something we've talked about the last couple weeks with the Book of Boba Fett is it's called the Book of Boba Fett. So you're going to have chapters that get away from the main character at times and go explore somewhere else. But then it all comes back. And I think that's what we're going to see here over the next 2 episodes after this is everything coming full circle into the finale of the 7th episode.
Yeah. It was I'm really loving the arc of Boba Fett. With the Mandalorian coming in, it kind of took a side road, but it's a needed side road, because they can't just have a character that is so established now through 2 seasons of the Mandalorian just appear without telling us where he's been. So I feel like they're answering some needed questions, but they're also serving another purpose, that once they do Mandalorian season 3, they're not going to have to do the setup.
Yes.
This is acting as the setup while simultaneously telling us where this character has been, so it fits into the Boba Fett storyline.
Yeah, because we saw at the end of 4. I mean, they're trying to now build their army. They're the Pikes are going to be coming for them. The Pikes are trying to take over the entire planet. Mainly, I mean, Mos Eisley is still the wretched hive of villainy that
Scum and villainy.
Scum and villainy. That when they still mention it here and there, they're like, yeah, it's like nobody cares about Mos Eisley. It's Mos Espa is where everything's at, which is where they've been at this whole time. And now that's the hub of all of this trade and the space and everything, the cargo's coming in. So this is what we're seeing is this war is going to be built up. And I think we kind of called at the end of episode 4 that with the music, they alluded to the Mandalorian, and they started off right at the beginning with Mandalorian. And what's he doing? He's on a job.
Yep. I'm trying to find a good, that Easter egg list was very small. This episode was packed with Easter eggs.
Yes.
It was jam-packed from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin.
I did like it at the beginning, though. I'll start with the beginning. What I liked was we got a reference right back to the very first episode of Mandalorian. And he's there on a job. The guy says it's not him. He proves it's him. He says, I could bring you in warm, or I could bring you in cold.
Yeah.
And for the first time, we got to see him bring somebody in cold. Because they went after him. And he's got the Darksaber, and the Darksaber does injure him because he doesn't know how to wield it, because this is not your typical saber. It is a lightsaber, but it is a variation of that because it is a Mandalorian version of the lightsaber, which we know was from a Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah. What I liked about the Darksaber, so we see the Darksaber revealed. Mm-hmm. He's having trouble controlling it. Now, this is what I like about it. They reveal that the creator of the Darksaber was a Jedi and a Mandalorian, so they incorporate both technologies into this. But when you go back to the original trilogy, when you see Obi-Wan fight Vader in episode 4, they're holding with a tight grip, 2-handed on the hilts. Mm-hmm. You get a little bit of one-handed action in Empire, and they slowly go to more of a fluid style. But the original intent that Lucas had with the lightsabers is there was so much energy emitting in the blade. Mm-hmm. For every action, there's the equal and opposite reaction. So the blade wants to push down, and you have to hold it with 2 hands to control it because it's so powerful. And while we've gone into a more fluid style with lightsaber fighting, I like that they incorporate that idea of needing two hands and the power wants to fight you into the dark saber. I love that they did that. Filoni is always so good at diving into the deep dive into what Lucas's intentions were and bringing them into the modern. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, it was meant to be more like a broadsword versus lighter swords that you can actually move around faster with. Instead of the katana style they kind of become, they were supposed to be heavier swords.
Right.
So
yeah, and here we see the Mando with his dark saber. So he gave himself a pretty good injury. Now, I was surprised though somebody in his line of work didn't have back to patches or something to put on wounds. He definitely needs a first aid kit, but he doesn't have his ship.
I'll say he
forgot
lost
about
it.
that.
He lost everything in the second season.
Yep.
And now what we see here, he was doing a bounty, and most of it though we find out though after he turns the bounty in. The guy said, well, I got another job for it. He didn't care. He just wanted the information that he was getting. And that was so he could find, he knew that the armorer and we find out the heavy weapons Mandalorian are together on that ring world. They're actually on the ring world, which I saw people commenting. It's like, oh, it's like Halo. It's like, well,
Halo.
The aspect of a ring world, it goes back to the 70s in books and goes actually further in other novelizations prior to that. So I like that they took inspiration because I guess Lucas said they got hinted at ring worlds before in early drafts of the original Star Wars and stuff like that. But this was cool, and it's not your Halo where it's a weapon itself; it is a living place. And I like that. It was interesting how there's equal sections where dark versus light in terms of how it was picking up the light and stuff like that. So
and the world, you had the ring world, and it had the city built on both sides. So you had an under city hanging down and a top city going up. So it was really interesting how they did it. It's an aspect of the Star Wars universe that on one hand completely fit in the Star Wars universe, but it's something that was fresh and new we've never seen in the Star Wars universe. So I really enjoyed that. And as you said, he ends up finding the Mandalorians. What we learn is there's only 3 of them left because the others took their helmets off.
Right.
And at the end of season 1, we see the pile of armor and helmets. Yep. So they're considered no longer Mandalorians by this sect of Mandalorian.
Right. And we do get the history of the Darksaber in terms of where it came from, as ties into because Bo-Katan's name was mentioned by Mandalorian asking the armor if she knew who Bo-Katan was. And she went through and kind of gave a rough history on that. Go back and watch Rebels. There's a lot of those episodes on that talk about the Katan family and house. And it's all that prior to the Night of 1,000 Tears. That's right. Yeah, Night of 1,000 Tears, right?
Yep. Which we do get a glimpse of in the flashback, which had a very Terminator feel. That was another Easter egg. You see the K2 droids coming through, and it was just like the Terminator scene where the Terminators are walking through the destruction.
Yeah, along with the TIE Fighter SAs, which are GAs, or SAs. They're ground assault type bombers, TIE bombers in that, which we've seen in games. I've actually played some of the games where I've actually flown them. And we see them here and there and a couple of things early on, but definitely that was an interesting thing to actually see the full, basically almost the destruction of Mandalore, and talked about how the only ones that were true to the order, which is what this sect believes, you never remove your helmet, and there's a few other things, and they were all already off world, and they were the reason they survived, and then they scattered to the winds before they come back together.
Yeah, here's that scene that kind of looks like the Terminator.
Yep.
Kind of looks like the Skynet things flying through the air, and then the Terminators marching through the debris.
Yeah, you got those are all the probe droids that we know from Empire Strikes Back. And then you've got like the TIE bombers, you've got those K droids. Those are, I mean, it was awesome to see that come back. It's like, okay, so those are definitely were around then.
From
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool how they're tying all those stuff in. We're seeing these little nuances and stuff like that, and getting this history that they don't have to necessarily go into like a full episode with. Even
that little droid they revealed that's in the Jedi Fallen Order video game.
Yeah, he's with what's her name on Tatooine.
Yeah,
it's a BB. It's BB1 or something like that. It's supposed to be like best buddy one is what the moniker is, but he's just this little box droid.
So after the armor tells the cautionary tale of Bo-Katan. He has his spear, and they're like, Beskar is not supposed to be used as weapons. It's supposed to be used for armor. So he decides to melt it down to create a gift for Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, and actually even says here, I noticed this, the way they tied it and folded it up, it almost looks like a little Grogu head.
Right, yeah.
With the ears sticking up. But so he makes a gift. They don't reveal what the gift is in this episode.
Well, they kind of do. You see little chains are falling, so it's probably some type of chainmail. We don't see the actual finished product, but we do see the little chains coming, so we know that's what she was crafting. So I'm figured she probably made something that would fit Grogu as a armor chainmail to help protect him.
Yep. So we're still seeing the other part that's conveyed is that the Mandalorian is obviously missing Grogu. Mm-hmm. He formed a strong bond with him, almost like a father figure to Grogu. So he's thinking about Grogu a lot and is wondering, is he okay?
Yep. And then of course, then after this point, he's trying to learn how to use the saber. The armor's trying to train him a little bit. And then the heavy weapons Mandalorian essentially challenges him.
Yeah.
And so we have a interesting fight with them.
Which the second I saw him, I'm like, he's gonna challenge. I knew it.
Well, he also said that it was his family, his descent, his house that crafted the hilt, which is made of Beskar. Yeah, which is made of Beskar.
That's part of his ancestry, which we see in the Clone Wars cartoon.
Yeah.
That you see here. So, or Rebels. This was Star Wars Rebels that this particular clip was, but.
Yeah, but after the battle and Mandal's basically got him, the armor questions, and of course the armor's like, I've never removed my helmet. She questions Mandalorian, he has, so now he has to leave and cannot be part of the order since he revealed.
So now they're down to 2.
Yep. So, and
the sect is not doing well.
Yeah. So, so he, of course, leaves and he heads off. It's funny though; he goes to get on public transportation.
Oh,
and he has to remove all his weapons. I thought that was funny, and he had to load everything up. And he looks at the driver like, "I know everything in there."
Yeah, he tried to use religious exemption.
Yeah, but he gets that, does that, and then ends up on Tatooine, where we actually see Amy Sedaris' character who fixes the ships, and she's battling what looks like a womp rat.
Yes, and this is a great scene here where we see what it turns out she's building a ship for the Mandalorian.
Yeah, she actually had the parts, and he's like, what is this? And right away, all us Star Wars fans like, it's a Naboo fighter. That's awesome.
Yep.
So it's an NB1 Naboo starfighter. I like how they the things they put in, handmade, pre-Empire, things like that. And he says it's pile of junk, and so he has to help her put it together because it's going to be what he needs at least to get through, even though it's not what he wants. He wants another Razor Crest. So.
Yep. But now another Easter egg that pops up is they have the Jawas scavenging for parts, and he needs this drive shaft or whatever it's called, this long pole. Well, it's the same pole that you see. I mean, not the same, but it's the same part that you see in the garbage compactor scene in A New Hope, where Han Solo's trying to stop the garbage compactor from crushing them. So it's the same exact looking piece.
Yeah, so we definitely get a name to that, and I think that's kind of interesting that they went. I mean, the little things that Filoni and Favreau have been putting in like that come out. Yeah. So it's just like, just really cool. So I like that. So we find out. Yeah, go ahead.
We find out she was dating Jawas too, so she has an in with the Jawas.
Yeah, she dated a Jawa. They're very hairy, very hairy, and she speaks Jawa. Yep.
She speaks fluent Jawa.
Yep. So I think it's cool. I mean, I like the building of the ship. Basically, they made a hot rod. I mean, they even got like the exposed, manifold that's on top of it that had speed to it. She's added a couple of things to it. And then,
which also ties into classic George Lucas with American Graffiti. He always had a hot rod feel. That's what he did with the pod racers. He did it with a lot of speeders in episode 2 on Coruscant. He likes that hot rod feel. So they got it perfect.
Yeah, and then when he's testing it out, he gets pulled over by the New Republic again. And the funny thing is, the one guy ends up being the from before, so that's they've met, and he doesn't admit who he is, but he goes, "You sound familiar." And then the guy playing the other pilot is actually the body double for Luke Skywalker from the end of Mandalorian season 2.
Right. And we also got another Easter egg thrown in. When he's test running his new ship on the planet, he does the pod race course that we saw Anakin. Even the ramp that he went up to take off was the same ramp that Anakin went up and then came down and got ahead of Saboba.
Down there in Beggar's Canyon.
There's a lot of Easter eggs there. Beggar's Canyon, yeah.
Yep.
So that was really cool.
I saw a clip where you see the gate versus how it is now, and it was the same. I mean, they did the same exact shots of some of those the pod race stuff. They really mirrored that a lot, which is really
even
cool.
The sound of the N1 engines for the Mandalorian has a little bit of a pod racer vibe to
that
it.
warble. Yep. So
it was
cool.
Did you notice that when he landed and she asked how was it? Did you hear his answer?
Remind me again, because I was actually watching back at there again.
He said it's wizard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You did use that.
Which in episode 1, that's so wizard, Annie.
Yeah, I did. I read something about that today, and it was like it's been used in episode 1, and even though I'm not participating in reading any of the High Republic stuff, it's been used in that. It sounds like, because they try to make that an older term within the galaxy in that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like that. And so basically, we see the Mandalorian. He's now got a ship, and then of course, we see Fennec Shan show up and basically say you've got a job, and that's kind of where it all ends there. So.
Yeah, he realizes it's for Boba Fett, so he says it'll be on the house, but first I have to visit a little friend.
Yes.
So, some other Easter eggs that popped up here. Just want to, let's see. Oh yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard directed this episode. Very well done.
Such a great job. And I agree with all this stuff on the internet. She needs to have her own movie, and I think she can handle it just fine.
Yeah. Well, and Ron Howard directed Solo, and I really think what we're going to find out is that this is pure speculation on my part. I really think we're going to get a Crimson Dawn tie-in into the end of this season of Boba Fett.
It's been hinted at a lot.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be tie-ins there. The Pikes, the Spikes, all that was all brought in through Ron Howard in Solo. So a lot of these things are starting to tie in. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Well, I could see her kind of like Robert Rodriguez helming Boba Fett, helming another a series like that, or if they decide to go with a movie route, and that. But definitely, everything she's directed in the Mandalorian series versus this, she's a phenomenal director. I enjoy her as an actress, but she is just a phenomenal director. I mean, she grew up around George. I mean, her dad and George Lucas have been really good friends since they did American Graffiti, and that's why Ron Howard did Willow back in the 80s, and so he knows George's viewpoint on some things.
Yeah, I am curious to see with the N1, how will the Mando bring in bounties, live bounties, that is. I mean, we saw he's willing to take the heads. So that doesn't mean my space.
The droid
compartment,
or the normal droid compartment, looks like it's hollow. They don't need the droid. They've bypassed around that. So that could be a holding thing.
That's my speculation.
He's not going to be able to do like he did in the first season of Mandalorian, where he'd have them all in the carbonite and just hanging on a line.
Yeah, he had a full carbonite making unit on his Razor Crest, so he could capture them live, freeze them, and then just ship them that way. Now he'll have to, if he has live, they'll just have to get stuffed into that back compartment, I guess.
Yeah, but of course, I think we might be seeing. We'll see what happens after this episode when he does eventually get to see Grogu and all that, how that's going to play out versus how it's going to tie into any other Star Wars series that come out. Are we going to see him still go back to bounty hunting, or is it going to be a completely different mission for him overall? I mean, plus now that he's not technically part of the Mandalorian culture, are we going to see now something tied into Bo-Katan and the Darksaber? Because I mean, that was hinted again, in this last episode, not today's, I'm talking about last week's, that about Bo-Katan, and we haven't seen her yet in this series, but I expect to see her in Mandalorian season 3.
Well, and now when he gets expelled from their sect for taking off his helmet, he asked, "How can I make it right?" And she mentioned, the armorer said, "You have to go to the eternal waters of Mandalore or something."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, that's underneath all the rubble or whatever." I forget the exact answer. So I suspect Mandalorian season 3 will be his quest to find these waters to be reborn, so to speak. And so he can rejoin the armor.
And I'm wondering how much he's going to want to rejoin the armor versus if they're going to take a new route and he realized that there is a lot more that the armor and them are forgetting about ancient Mandalore, and that because their sect is so narrow.
Yeah, I mean, when 1,000% of the population removes their helmet and you got 2 people who don't, he might be like, well, sometimes you just have to.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're going to see. So it'll be interesting on that. But I love the episode last week. It was such fun. In fact, I was watching it and I had to shut it off. And then my computer decided I want to do whatever it does. But I'll finish that off again today. And I'll probably watch again today's episode again. Just because I like to do that with the Mandalorian episodes too. So the Book of Boba Fett, just treating them the same way. But
and what I will, just a warning, if you have not seen the newest episode 6 of Book of Boba Fett, do so right away. You're going to see spoilers.
I've already seen postings where they're trying to say no spoilers, but they're already releasing too much information. That is definitely a spoiler in there. So.
I see people posting spoiler threads, which is all well and good, except as you're scrolling through, somebody posts a picture and it shows up and it's like, well, I wasn't even reading that thread. So stay off of social media once we're off the air, and go watch Book of Boba Fett. If you're in Michigan, you probably have a snow day. Go check it out, and then you're safe to go on to social media. We'll talk about it next week, though.
Yes, and next week is, I believe, the final episode for the season for Book of Boba Fett. Episode 7, and then they're already, seeing lots of stuff pop up for Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor's putting out stuff talking about he's really excited for everybody to see it. It's gonna be really good. And then, of course, we should hear more about the season 3 Mandalorian, which I know they took a little time off for COVID. They should be back to filming, and I believe that's scheduled to come out later this spring. So
now, one thing we didn't talk about, I'll just bring it up quick. Did you see the Halo trailer?
No, I gotta watch that still.
So that's coming out on Paramount Plus or whatever they're.
And I saw some images, but I haven't watched the trailer itself, and the images look phenomenal.
It looks well done. So I'm excited to see that. If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube or whatever, look up Halo trailer. I think they released 2 trailers so far. And then the other thing from Paramount is they revealed Strange New Worlds, which is the Captain Pike series for Star Trek.
Yeah.
I think they said May 5th. I think it said that will be coming out.
Yeah, and we should see Picard later this year. We know Q's coming in because that's been all over the social medias as by Paramount themselves. And then they've already renewed that for a 3rd season. They've renewed Discovery, and I believe they already renewed the Pike series for another year too. So
now, while they're revealing all of those during this past week, Simon Pegg put out a statement because people keep asking him the status of the Kelvin timeline, and he said, as of now, they know nothing. All the actors have said they're on board, but for whatever reason, Paramount has been nothing has been happening.
I have a feeling we're not going to see anything. I think the direction they've gone on the streaming side is the direction they want to go with Star Trek right now.
But I think the sad part is, and it's all because of their stupid rights, the way things were divided. The TV rights were separate from the movie rights. They wanted to make it part of the Prime timeline, which is the TV side, but they had to make it separate, which is the Kelvin side. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
The fans really like the actors portraying the movie side. And now that the rights are unified, they really need to, even if you don't want to do it as a movie, I'm sure these actors will do a series, do a one-shot series where it's a 8-episode season. and bring these actors back at least to give a final story to close it up. I think it would do huge. People want to see, people like Chris Pine as Kirk. Chris Hemsworth has said he would come back to, because the theory was they were going to do some kind of time thing to bring Kirk's dad back, which is who Chris Hemsworth played in the first movie. Quentin, what's the actor who plays Spock?
Zachary Quinto.
Zachary Quinto. He wants to come back as Spock. Yeah. Simon Pegg wants to come back as Scotty. So everybody wants to come back.
Yeah.
So it's not on the actor side. It's just for some reason Paramount, even when it comes to their toy licensing, when they used to do sketch cards, they're a pain in the butt to work with on their licensing. So they got to pull it together and at least give us a final closure of that whole thing. You know, Bones, they're all so perfectly cast.
Yeah, I mean it's a good cast. I mean, Tandy Newton, and that she was great in it.
No, not Tandy Newton. I thought it was Gamora.
Is it Gamora?
I thought it was Zoe or Zoe. Oh, how do you say her name? Zoe Saldana. Yeah,
okay.
I think it's her in Star Trek. Let me double check though. Yeah, it's Zoe Saldana.
Okay, sorry, I kept thinking
Tandy Newton and Zoe Saldana are always getting confused. In fact, Tandy Newton even shared a story. She's friends with the Spice Girl, Beckham.
Oh, yeah.
And she was Victoria. She was with her somewhere talking, and she realized halfway through the conversation that Victoria thought she was Zoe Saldana. She's like, you know me. How do you think I'm her?
And that's the whole thing is I haven't watched this in a long time, so that's why I got them confused because they're both they look. It's not just that they look similar. And no, this has nothing to do with their race. So anybody wants to get that crap out.
No,
they both actually are very. They could play sisters easily in anything.
Yeah,
and they both have a similar voice in the talk, and I like them both equally because they're both fun. Because Tandy's doing the Westworld, and for a minute there, I thought it was. And when she popped on Westworld, I thought it was Zoe.
Yeah, so, and she also was in Solo.
Yeah,
but I mean, just to give you an idea, so people can see if they don't know, I'll pull up the image.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about this a little bit, just
there they are side by side.
Yeah, they look like they should be.
They definitely look like sisters for sure.
Yeah. So, but the thing with the movies too, I think the hardest part was after Anton Yelchin unexpectedly died. They had a hard time of they don't want to replace him. And that was part of the talk of when they were getting ready to talk about the next movie, and then everything got put on hold.
But let's be honest, Chekhov is not a character that the whole series cannot move on without that character.
No,
you could have a scene, a funeral scene to acknowledge his passing.
Personally, I don't think they should do that. I think they should just recast and move on because it's a character that doesn't need to. They don't need to kill him off just because the actor passed away.
Right, but I'm just saying, if they wanted to honor him that way, you could do it.
Yeah,
or just say he got transferred to another ship. He got promoted to the Excelsior or whatever, and there's a new helmsman.
Yeah. Either way, there's many ways to do it, and I have to, and still can honor him in the end by dedicating it to him. But Carl Urban, of course, was McCoy and was phenomenal. So we'll see. I mean, but of course, I mean, it's been 2009 was when the first one came out, and it was delayed by a year for that. So it actually was probably filmed 2007. So it's how many years now since the last one? It's been several years. Star Trek Beyond was 2016, so now we're going into 6 years since the last Star Trek movie that they did. So it's like, do they go back and visit that again for one last one, which would be nice, or they just say forget it and move on?
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this, and it's going to be very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
Paramount needs to sell Star Trek to Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm will do a better job than Paramount. Paramount doesn't know how to make Star Trek movies. They don't.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because of how much there's always the big divide between Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans on what's a better franchise.
The best way I ever heard it explained, I think it was J.J. Abrams.
Mm-hmm. Star
Trek is classical music. Star Wars is rock and roll.
Yeah.
And what he was trying to do was kind of merge them, kind of like Guns N' Roses playing with a full symphony orchestra behind them. That's what he was trying to do with Star Trek. But some people loved it and some people didn't. But
the thing I enjoyed about them, I thought they were good movies. It was fine. They were reimaginings, stuff like that. I think where they got in trouble, and I'm not criticizing because I did enjoy it at the same time, was bringing in the original Spock and then say, okay,
that was a great tie-in.
Doing the different the timeline's fine. It allowed them to do their new thing, which was great because they can move on away from the series, and it didn't discount the series. And then when they started launching all the new stuff on the Paramount Network, it was like, okay, we're going to ignore that because they could. I mean, when Viacom and CBS and all them they were separate companies with the different rights, and now they're all merged. And the thing is they merge and separate so many times over the years, different aspects, and they've done now what Disney's been trying to do is bring everything from the back by buying 20th Century Fox. They brought all the Marvel stuff back into Marvel, right. And they probably brought all Star Trek in. So, but it's going to take some time. Personally, do one last movie with everybody and then move on.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't mind a season, honestly, and put it on the Paramount channel.
Yeah, season would be great
because then they could get really deep. And actually, when you do a season, you get like 3 movies worth of time of playtime. So that I would rather that in some ways than a standalone movie.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll see. I know they've talked about it for the last few years, and I think that with COVID shutdown, that kind of messed up some of the things.
But I am looking forward to the Strange New World series. Oh God, I'm blanking on the actor's name who played Pike.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too because I liked him a lot in the Discovery series. I started watching the new season. I watched a couple episodes. I just don't care for this new season of Discovery. It's back to what it felt like in the first season for me.
They keep Michael Burnham is not a lead. The best episodes in Discovery is when she's not part of it.
Right.
The rest of the crew is phenomenal. It's just she doesn't have what it takes to lead a series.
Right. And I think that's where I don't know why they have to keep going back to her on that, but I just have not been enjoying it at all. So I may go back and eventually watch them again. Because I felt that way after season 1. I didn't care to watch season 2. I eventually did watch it, but
and season 2 was great because of Pike.
Yeah, Anson Mount. Anson Mount plays Pike.
There you go.
Yeah.
And even like when they first do their jump, the episodes with Michael Burnham, because she got separated from the rest of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stand her episodes, but then the episodes that followed, oh God, I'm blanking because I haven't watched it in a while. The alien who's running, who's
Saru.
I love the Saru episodes.
Yes,
my favorite character by far. But the crew, when Michael Burnham isn't there, the crew gels. I feel like it works.
Yeah.
But when she's in there, it's kind of like they shoehorn her in to be the lead, and it just doesn't feel right.
No, it doesn't, and I don't think it works right. But they're diehard on it, so that's fine. Picard, I'm looking forward to seeing the second season of that because I enjoyed the first one. And then, like I said, with the Strange New Worlds, I want to see that one too because I like the Pike stuff was great in Discovery, and I think we're going to finally see some Star Trek TV show we've been wanting to see within that.
And unless they changed it, the original premise for the Strange New Worlds is it's going to be much more episodic instead of these grand storylines. So kind of like the old series where each episode would take you to a new world or a new thing. There would be a new thing, but it wasn't this grand Odyssey overreaching story. They just, they're going world to world and you get a new story every week.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. Not everything has to be a grand sweeping story arc.
Exactly. So looking forward to that. So, hey, join us next week. We're going to talk more Boba Fett.
Fett? Where?
Yeah. And a lot of other fun stuff. And you guys that are in the path of this weather heading everywhere, just be safe out there. Kevin, enjoy Vegas. And we will see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Come on, end it. I got to hit the brand. There we go.